So what's your New Year resolution?
Oh, that's on the spot. I guess for me, it's to get back into the sadhana that I've kind of let slip over the marathon. So get back into Mangalati, chanting at the right time, Bhagavatam class, reading, that just get back into my sadhana in a strong way. Because I know that the sadhana just gives you so much strength. And when you're out of the loop, you just become so much more susceptible to Mother Maya.
Yeah, Prabhupada gave us the bare necessity. It's like you have the nectar of instruction, and then Prabhupada gave us the nectar of instruction. And it's like you can't skimp any lower. Some devotees say, oh, it's okay just to chant 4 rounds and follow 3 regs. It's not. You can't get any lower. It's supposed to be 64 rounds, Lord Chaitanya wanted, and a whole lot of other requirements. And Prabhupada said, okay, look, I'll lower it to this. But it's got to be this, tilak on, dhoti, shaved head, cooperate with the temple authorities, 16 rounds, 4 regs, and okay, I'll take you back. So that's it. You can't drop it any lower than that,
I noticed in Nectar Instruction, Prabhupada says, we require every member to rise before 4 a.m., attend morning program. He puts it as a requirement. It's not like you can if you want. We require you to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of heavy. Like if you actually, that sentence, kind of heavy. It's like Prabhupada saying it straight.
Yeah. I think it's the instruction he gave more than any other one was to attend Mangalati. I remember there was one devotee in class who was asking this older devotee, says, how can I make sure that I never leave Krishna consciousness? And he says, always attend Mangalati. And first he thought it was really mystical, but then he was thinking afterwards, later on, well, if you're always attending Mangalati, you're not going to be leaving Krishna consciousness.
It's true. Like literally.
So then you have to look at, for me, just getting up for Mangalati is not enough because I need to read. And the only time I can read is before Mangalati. So I get up at 3, I read for an hour, then I take a shower, then I come in, then I get my reading done every day, and I get my chanting done every day. And it's the part that gets neglected even more than the Mangalati is the reading. Sri Ramaj was asking one time, how many devotees put their hands up who's been reading the Srila Prabhupada's books, who's read all of Srila Prabhupada's books, and it was very, very few. Yeah,
and it fortifies you. Like in Ishopanishad, I think one of the verses it says that Krishna Katha is antiseptic and prophylactic, meaning that it not only cleanses you but it also prevents material contamination also. So
I've just been reading as well, 2 devotees have approached Lord Chaitanya and they're upset that he's being blasphemed by the Mayavadis and the impersonalists. And Srila Prabhupada makes the point that, I can't remember exactly who the devotees were, he was tapping on Misha and somebody else. He says that they were Kanishta Adhikaris because they couldn't defeat the opposition because they weren't sufficiently well versed in the philosophy. So if you want to come to the stage of the Majjhima Adhikari, you have to know the books inside out. And the books are also telling us about reading other books from the Goswamis as well. So it's not that when you've read Srila Prabhupada's books now you can relax and don't have to read so much. Of course, you have to go straight back to Srila Prabhupada's books and read them all over and over again anyway. Plus, in the books, he's recommending that as your own consciousness is becoming more elevated, then you become qualified to access other books. And there's so many books we have now that we never had years ago.
Yeah, that's what Shiva Maharaj said, that he went to some interfaith kind of meeting, and they were comparing the books, and the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition has the most books out of any religion that exists. And this morning Shiva Maharaj gave a class for this. It was just like an impromptu class that we got invited on, and he was really reiterating this point that we are about printing books, and how Prabhupada, he didn't just say print my books, he said print books full stop. So Shiva Maharaj was really hitting home, like, we need to write books as well, not just read books but write books. And how Prabhupada said you need to write down your realizations, and you need to keep writing as well, because that is hearing and chanting, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, and it's funny the way false ego works, because we tend to think false ego means I go around with my Keter up like Elvis Presley, and I push people out the way in the prasadam queue, and that shows I've got a big false ego. But big false ego can also mean that you feel, oh, I'm not worthy. Why should I write a book, and I'm not up to it, and I just want to stay in the background. But that's also false ego, because you're not stepping up to the mark, you know, to do what's wanted of you. Prabhupada wants us all to become at least Shiksha gurus, and you may be thinking, oh, I'm not qualified to be. Sorry, I'm not qualified to be a devotee, and why should anyone listen to me like that? You know. Sorry, I'll just open the car door. Get a bit of light.
Yeah, it's interesting how, yeah, but like because Shiva Maharaj's books are on, like, he at the end of this class this morning, he was reading from his Valapkus Manjali, and it's just like just to hear his book, like, you know, hear what's actually out there. It's like just it's the next level. Like the part
available. Yeah.
Part that he was reading was about like what happens when you return to the spiritual world, and he was talking about how you get introduced to Radharani, and Rupa Manjari, she presents you to Radharani and said, this is one of Lord Chaitanya's devotees, and this is the service that he's done, or that she's done even, and gives the big list of service. And Shiva Maharaj was really saying, like, we need to do quantifiable service, so that when that list comes out, it's clear this is what we've done. You know, this is the service we've done. We've distributed these books. Like, you actually have to do something. It's not just
wow.
You know, it's very. And Prabhupada was like that. It wasn't a case of, you know, just, okay, oh yeah, he's chanting very nice. It's like, okay, he's chanting, but how much is he collecting on Sankirtan, and how many books is he distributing? And this quantifying aspect of it is actually important, you know.
Yeah, there's one devotee asked Hare Krishna Maharaj, should I slow down on the quantity because I feel it's reducing the quality? And Hare Krishna Maharaj says, your quality is your quantity.
And that's a point you've made personally about japa, right? Like,
yeah. Just by sheer volume of chanting the name, even if if you're chanting bad rounds, that's more the reason why you should chant extra, not less the reason. Because it's just a question of having a sheer volume that you'll reach your point just by continually chanting where you'll tip. Everything will just tip over. So if you're chanting and you're barely able to follow the principles, or you're barely able to turn up for Mangalati, and you're barely able to get enthusiastic to do service, then it means 16 is not enough for you. You need to push beyond into this realm where the name is pleased with you again, and then everything will lighten up, everything will become easy.
Yeah, we have to have that experience of actually all service depends on this sadhana. Any service that I do, anything I do in life is coming out of this. So.
Yeah.
And you can give your experience.
If you're doing deity worship and you've not got time to put the deity on the altar, and you're just throwing the clothes up, and then you put a garland on, and then you put some water in there, and you offer some incense, and then the curtains open, and you say, well, where's the deity? I didn't have time. So the deity is the holy name in Kali Yuga. You have to establish that first. And by reading nicely, attending the morning program, this will help to enhance our chanting. And then when that's there solidly, then it means during the day we've got a deity that we can dress and serve.
What would you say for someone that feels like they have become neglectful of, like, you know, sometimes you become neglectful of the basics, and you find yourself in this position of, you feel very far away from what you once experienced in Krishna consciousness?
Well, you can create a pattern. So if after, I don't know, 3 months you trail away, and then you bounce back into it, and you get even stronger into it, then okay, so that's going to be your pattern. By how you've been conditioned by the modes of nature, you go down really badly after 3 months, so you get used to it, and you try and reduce that to 3 months, 1 month, till eventually it's just once a week. You keep pushing at it, and you don't use that as an excuse, that therefore, because after 3 months I keep giving up and I'm back to square one, therefore. That's always the bottom line with Maya. She presents you with this contract, and she says, well, look, you know, you're not really that good, are you? And then you look at the bottom of the contract, and there's a dotted line, and you have to sign it. and the dotted line says, therefore you should throw the towel in. And she tries to get you to sign that contract, so that you now the fact that Maya is trying means obviously that you're still in with a chance, otherwise she wouldn't have to try. But the fact that she's trying to entice you and get you to put your bead bag down and stop, she's telling you it's useless. But if it was useless, then why was she trying to get you to stop? She could just leave you to continue on. The fact that she's trying to stop you shows that you are getting somewhere.
Interesting. And that point you made about actually understanding your conditioning. Okay, this is the way my modes are orchestrated. Yeah. Every 3 months, I go into a little depression.
Yeah,
like that is self-realization as well, isn't it? Like realizing
you start sussing yourself out. You start working out where you're at, what floats your boat, what bursts your bubble, and also we have to start becoming aware of what humility looks like. When we're presented with humility, it can be very disorientating, because it's not seeing yourself as you think you are. You're not some kind of spiritual superstar, and so you see yourself for what you are. That's great. Don't give up now. That's fantastic. You're actually coming down a notch. You're coming down to like ground level where you can make some solid advancement and you can see things realistically. So that's great. You want to be away from all this illusion, this kind of utopian idea that you're a great devotee and you don't need to go through any problems. Everything's going to be fine for you. So humility comes in and it's like, oh no, I didn't realize I was like a worm in stool, because that's actually quite a heavy thing to feel like that, And I'm sure a lot just give up when they feel like they think, oh my God, and they go, rather than, yeah, okay, I'm a worm in stool. That's why I really need to be in this movement and practicing and really applying myself, because otherwise I'm going to be in big trouble when I die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is it something that you can gain a taste for, that humility, like you said before, the crush of humility, like that?
I'm hoping so. As a worm in stool myself, I've got more of a taste for the stool. Yeah. But I'm hoping that when the worm gets pulled out of the stool, it'll stop trying to crawl back in.
Mm. That's another point that Sri Maharaj made this morning, was that we are trying to develop this mood of chanting and a mood of separation. So when you do feel like a worm in stool, that is actually an impetus for that highest mood of chanting.
Yeah. If you can... separation. It's far out. I was chanting in the last few days. My chanting's not been so. It doesn't seem so good, and before that, the chanting seemed really good. So I'm going through this black, white type thing, and I was thinking, it's not really that my chanting's that good when it is good. It's just that Krishna's being kind to me. And then when he doesn't, and then I start thinking it's me, and I'm learning how to control Krishna now. And then he steps back, and he's trying to teach me that it's only by his mercy that I have any taste at all, and that when he steps back, I have to recognize that this is him making me brokenhearted by not being present before me. And then when there's problems, he's handling me roughly in his embrace. So instead of me trying to impose my preconceived idea of what I think the chanting should do for me, or I should be chanting now, I should be feeling blissful, I should be feeling peaceful, I'm not feeling like that at all. So I'm having to kind of drop my agenda and what I'm expecting from the chanting, and just be very respectful and very humble, and just, okay, so Krishna doesn't want to comply right now with my terms, and very humbly I must have offended or done something wrong, so I've just got to chant and wait for when he shines that light again.
Yeah, which takes some kind of patience and I guess experience also.
Takes time. Yeah, that's the thing. It just takes time. You just got to say, okay, I'm going to give this one lifetime, and I've got faith that toward the end of a lifetime of trying, Krishna will finally come in and consistently be there with you. And up until that time, there's like this swaying, the troughs and the crests of the wave. You're up on the wave, you're down, you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down, and this is just part of the course.
It's interesting. So you're, like they say, you're in a boat floating on the ocean, and the waves create turmoil, but it doesn't mean you should jump off the boat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because if you jump off the boat, it will solve seasickness. But the way it'll solve it is you'll be dead lying on the bottom of the ocean bed. So you could say, "How's your seasickness now?" So I haven't got it anymore. So that's fine. But now you're dead. So at least if you're feeling the turbulence of the modes of nature tugging at you, then it shows that you're resisting that influence. Whereas if you just jump off and go with it, then you don't feel any resistance because you're completely under the sway of the modes of nature. So you just go along with everything. So now we are feeling it because we're pushing against that, you know.
Do you have any experience? I was just thinking about, you know, like when we are observing ourselves, observing our patterns and something. Have you any experience of like writing down, like journaling, or any techniques like that you can use to help track that?
Well, one thing that really hit me was a devotee said, "Whatever you measure improves." And so I would get hit hard by material desires once a month, and it would be very dark for a day or two. And so I started to keep a track by the month and by the year, and at the end of the year I'd have a number of times that it got very dark, and as soon as I started to measure it, immediately started reducing. And before that, I hadn't wanted to address it. You should just shrug my shoulders and think, okay, well, look, don't dwell on it. Otherwise, you'll just get negative. So I just push it aside and try and boldly carry on. And then one day I thought, okay, let me just look at this, you know, let me measure this, what is happening here. And as soon as I started to do that, I was able to improve. And when you feel yourself improving, it gives you the confidence to improve even more. Whereas if you're just kind of treading water all the time, like the rat, you know, if a rat's treading water, it takes 15 minutes to drown. But if you lift a rat out of the water and then drop it back in, it takes 60 hours to drown, because it's always thinking you're going to pick it up after that. So it just keeps going and going and going, you know.
That's with hope. You know this term, hoping against hope? I wonder, what does that mean? I read it in Nectar Instruction, hoping against hope.
I've always taken that to mean that you've hoped and it's not worked, and now you're hoping again, and that's not worked. Then you're hoping again, and eventually you've got all these hopes going out, and nothing seems to be coming back, and you're becoming more and more, you know, completely like at the point where you're going to break down and you're feeling hopeless. Hopeless is when, and then La Prostitute Pingala, she says, hope against hope is the worst type of suffering, and utter hopelessness is the foundation of true happiness. So you get to the point where, you know, you're like, oh, you know, I cannot do this. It's up to you, Krishna. You really do need to help me here. I can't do it without you, you know. And when you genuinely feel like that, then Krishna's like, yeah, no problem. I just wanted you to say that. I wanted you to really feel that.
So one who's hoping against hope is still maintaining this idea that at some point they're going to get happiness in the material world. And then when one becomes hopeless, then they finally turn to Krishna and call out, like, need relief.
Yeah. Like Draupadi, one arm on the sari and one arm hoping against hope. And it's becoming more and more futile. And then finally she just says, oh, this is no good. And she throws her arms up. And then Krishna's there for her, you know. It takes courage and it takes faith to just decide, okay, that's it, you know. I always found my best chanting is when I'm feeling utterly hopeless, when I'm just thinking, you know, what's the point anymore, you know. And then Krishna. That really softens Krishna's heart when you're feeling like that.
Nice. Thanks for clearing that up. Okay. So I know with time is limited, so maybe we'll have to put a line under it there. But thanks for the wisdom.
Yeah.